If you go to a supermarket from Monday to Thursday, you will find very less rush. All the people who are working there, the staff, they feel calm and relaxed. And come Friday to Sunday, and you will find so many people are there. You will find that the stocks levels are going down. All the staff people are overburdened. And to manage that, generally what the supermarket is doing, they generally have some additional counters. They have some quick checkout places, and they always make sure to have more quantity so that there is no stock out. Today I'm going to talk about 3M: Muda, Mura and Muri. You must have seen in the previous two videos I talked about the 3M, what exactly is that, and in the last video I talked about especially about the Muda and about the 8 key wastages. In this particular video I am going to take it further, that all these 8 wastages which are happening, which we call as Muda, why they are happening. So the root cause is two more things, which is Mura and Muri. When we talk about Mura, it is talking with respect to the variability or unevenness. And when we talk about Muri, it is talking about the burden, the overburden which the people or the machines are having, which is resulting in the Mura. So let me take an example with respect to a MIG welding line, where assume that there are 5 or 6 MIG welding lines in sequence. There's a robotic welding which is happening there, and then assume that there's a rejection from 5 to 20% which is happening, and let's try to understand that why it is happening. So with respect to Mura, which is talking with respect to the unevenness, let's understand with an example. Now here the first root cause of the rejections can be with respect to inconsistent machine setting. Now there are some key parameters with respect to the welding machine. It is gas flow rate, current and the voltage. If these parameters are not set correctly and there is a variation in that, it can result in the rejection. Then the second variation can come because of the inconsistent operator skill. Now because of the work pressure or maybe non-availability of the skilled worker, assume that a semi-skilled worker is operating those 5 or 6 robotic welding machines. Now when that person is working on those machines, there is a high possibility that because of lack of understanding of the process, because of not knowing the importance of setup or in process inspection, or to hear the voice of the process, maybe some noise is coming, maybe that after a while the rejections start coming. And the third most important reason is with respect to uneven robot setup. Now when we talk about robotic welding, one very important aspect is tutoring the robot so that the robot can work correctly. And it's a requirement to periodically check and see that whether robot is working effectively or correctly or not. But in case it is not being taken care of, it can also result in the defects. So in a way, whatever is a problem which is happening here, it is resulting in the wastage. And why it is happening? Because there is a variation in the process. Now let's talk about Muri, that how it is resulting further about that. When we talk about Muri, primarily we are talking with respect to the overburden or the excessive strain on the people or the machine. So let's talk about the first burden, that is the operator burden. Now if a semi-skilled worker is working on the machine, there is a possibility that after a while that person is not able to understand how to manage the production, how to manage the machine, and how to make sure that whatever output is required, that is coming or not. And because of that, maybe after a while that person is not taking it with respect to the in-process inspection, or maybe with respect to the sounds, extra sound which is coming, or maybe when the robot is not working properly, then to understand that and taking some action, because the main output is that the number should be there. The second is with respect to the machine overburden. Now if the robot is set up incorrectly and it is continuous to run at the high speed of the volume, now it strains the equipment and it also compounds the defect rate. Moreover, there may be a prescription that we have to give rest to the robot after a while, but if we are not giving because the rejections are high and we have to meet the target, that also can result in using the robot too much, and then it can also result in the variation in the process, which can result in the output failures. And the third most important, which is generally not being considered, is the cognitive overburden. Now assume that in the robotic welding we are using a skilled worker, and the output is coming good, the rejections are, say, assumed in the control. But what we are not realizing is that why it is happening, there is a variation in the process. From time to time, the parameters are going out. But because of the skilled worker, that person is able to manage everything, just to reset the process parameters, just to make sure that the output is okay. But that in that process, there is too much of burden in that process. And what is going to happen by end of that shift? That person will be burned out, and generally in the end of the shift the variation or the rejection increases, and maybe after a while that person decides to leave the company or go for a long leave. And what happens when we put another person? That person does not understand and knows how to manage the process because the variation is already there, and then we realize that the output is not coming and the defects are increasing. So in a way, if you see all these three things, Muda, Mura and Muri, they are all interrelated to each other. So let's understand one more time about it, that how they are interrelated with each other. So when we are talking about Muda, we are talking about 5 to 20% of rejection. Why it is happening? Because there is inconsistent setting. And why there is an inconsistent setting? Because the semi-skilled operator is working there. Then we also talk about another waste, which is about the repair, rework, segregation or the scrap. Now why it is happening? Because there is a variable welding quality which is happening. And why it is happening? Because one semi-skilled worker is managing 5 or 6 machines which that person is not competent to do. And then another waste that we talked about is the lost time and the material, because the output is unpredictable. And why it is happening? Because there is an incorrect robot setup. Now to understand that what possible actions an organization can do just to make sure that the output is good, the rejection is within control, and whatever is the predictability that the organization is looking, they can get it with some simple steps. The first is to standardize the control sheet or the control plan which is being used there, and to implement Pokayoka or the foolproofing wherever it is required. Then the second thing is with respect to the structured skill training, on the job training, and ensuring that the work instruction or the SOPs are in place. Then the next thing is with respect to regular job setup and the in-process inspection, just to make sure that everything is within control. And then certainly to have an effective root cause analysis wherever any gap is coming, and to take the corrective action. And whenever all those things are happening, certainly the productivity is going to increase, the cost is going to come down, the inventory cost will also go down, and the employee morale is going to increase. Now to talk about the industry challenges, even though there are many, so let me just talk about one thing, that is about the cognitive overburden, which I just talked about. So often, as long as the productivity is good, the rejection is less, we often think that everything is fine. But we don't realize that the person who is working there, that person is ensuring that output and the less rejection. But when that person is not there, or when the person is burdened, or maybe that person is burned out, at that time we come to know the real output of the process. So how often organizations look into the cognitive overburden in the organizations? So if I do a summary, I talked about the 3M, Muda, Mura and Muri. What does it mean? Then we also discussed about one example with respect to the MIG welding and how Mura and Muri is impacting the Muda, which is the overall wastage, and what are the industry challenges. My next video will again be in line with the 3M, where I am going to talk about SMED, single minute exchange of dies. Regularly, I am getting a lot of feedback from your side, and they are helping me to understand your expectations. So please do continue that. In case you want to understand a little bit more about this particular video, you will find a link below. If you click that, you will find a blog there. There you can find more information with respect to this video. And in case you are liking these kind of blogs and videos, you can always share with your friends and colleagues, and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel and my website bhavyamangla.com. Recently, I published a book with respect to the supply chain management. So in case you want to know more about it, you will find a link below, and you can click that and you can get more information with respect to that. Thank you.